Check.
Mic check. So what's it all about? Welcome to episode number 29 of Jay and Mark. I am Mark and this is Jay.
I am Jay.
And we were already talking about the Fort Lauderdale shooting that was recommended as a topic from Jeff Lights Out Hughes, the famous pro MMA beast.
Yeah.
Which I don't know much about. Jared knows more than me. Jeffy, in some way, was trying to relate it to the Russian hacking of the election. I'm not sure what he was trying to get across. I think what I got from it, because I was just getting little bits from him through comments through the live broadcast I did earlier in the day. And so I only got little bits and pieces, but I think he was trying to say that there's a theory going around that it might be. And again, this is just my speculation of what Jeffy was trying to tell me. This might not be it at all, but I think what he was trying to do was say that this might be like another like Sandy Hook type thing, that they were saying Sandy Hook was like a distraction, or like it was a false flag operation, basically, to try to enforce stricter gun control laws.
I actually believe that.
There's more evidence making me think that that's probably what it was than evidence of what happened. I don't know. I don't want people to hate me for having opinions or thinking critically about things. I don't know.
Right.
I just try to make sense of things the way I can, and I don't really think of myself as a fucking ignorant dummy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I could very well be. That could be my ignorance.
You are an ignorant dummy.
You
big dumb dummy.
But
big dumb dummy.
This guy, what happened in Fort Lauderdale?
Well, from what I read and some of the videos that I've seen and the little bit of news coverage that I saw, the man's name was Esteban Santiago, and apparently he was an Iraq war veteran. He was returning. I don't know if he was returning home to Fort Lauderdale or if he was just in Fort Lauderdale or whatever. Yeah. But apparently he had in his checked luggage, which I didn't think you could do this anyway, but apparently you can. You can check your guns in. Like when you get on a plane,
airport,
you could apparently, because he was able to check his guns with his luggage when he got on the plane.
And checked luggage, I should know this with as much as we've flown over the country in our lives. But checked luggage is luggage that it's not a carry-on. It's the stuff they put in the
underneath the plane.
Yeah,
yeah,
in the storage.
So apparently, for whatever reason, he had a handgun and 2 magazines in his checked luggage, but when he picked up his luggage at baggage claim, he took his luggage into the bathroom, loaded up his pistols, and came out and opened fire. And apparently he was intentionally trying to shoot people in the head.
So just at random, it didn't matter.
Just
who.
at random. He wasn't targeting,
discriminating against blacks, or
he wasn't targeting anybody in
Hispanics
particular. He just came out and he was just.
Now, who in the video we watched of the gunman, him starting what he was doing, this shooting he was planning.
Right.
Was he white? Was he?
Well,
he appeared to be
his
either
name
white
is
or
Esteban Santiago.
Okay.
So I'm going to assume he's of some sort of Hispanic,
Latin descent,
Latin, whatever. But
well, it was Fort Lauderdale. It might have been like Cuban or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
it says, according to a criminal complaint, Santiago told the FBI that after landing, he retrieved the checked handgun case from baggage claim, went to a bathroom, and loaded the weapon, then tucked it into his waistband. He told investigators that he shot the first people he saw when he left the restroom. The complaint states.
And that's That's kind of what it looked like in the video. The
Right.
video was short.
He was, yeah,
but
he
it looked
wasn't
like he had just got it. He was hiding it on himself somewhere because he was like carrying stuff. He didn't have his bags or anything that I could see.
He
pulled it out of
right
like
down in his waistband.
so he was, and it was first person. He pulled it out, pop, pop, pop.
Yeah, and he just started shooting people at random. He wasn't targeting anybody in particular.
And in that video you showed me on Instagram of somebody you know that was there.
Well, it's somebody that I follow and he follows me, and when I saw the video, I went to his Instagram page. That's where I saw his video. And apparently he was on the boat with, not this guy, not the shooter, the guy that posted the video that was there in the baggage claim terminal. Apparently I know him from the Port Paradise cruise that we went on.
Okay.
And I don't know him, but somehow we're following each other, and I noticed he had the same Port Paradise pictures on his Instagram.
Okay, all right.
So somehow, when we were crewing and doing all that stuff to win the cruise,
You met this guy.
me and this guy met because you had to be friends with people on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff to build crews with them to win this contest.
All right, so basically that tells you somewhere along the line you guys met each other.
Right.
But he posted a video or whatever that showed like the aftermath, and you saw people laying on the ground,
Literally bleeding to death from
like
the
there was a
head.
guy looked like he was shot in the head. He had a
Yeah.
pool of blood and what looked like
He appeared to be dead, and it's
brain
really,
matter on the ground below him.
right, and it's really
There was
quick.
one guy that was kneeled over on his like elbows and knees, and there was a guy like comforting him, and it was like kind of underneath him, but off to the side there was a big red spot on the carpet or
Right.
whatever it
Right.
was there. Whatever this was, it definitely happened.
Oh yeah,
Unless this is very like some Hollywood shit, you know what I mean? But this shit definitely happened.
right. No, I don't think that it was. Excuse me.
But
Hold on.
I want to know this guy's motives. Did he have
Right.
mental illness?
I don't think anybody knows
You
yet.
said he was in the military?
It says that where's it at?
He was an ex-Marine or ex-Army? Navy?
I just read it.
I know
He
you
was.
mentioned something. I need a better memory.
Me too.
I smoke too much.
I can't find it again because it's kind of a long article.
But I
But
remember you mentioning he was in the military. I don't know if he was discharged, dishonorably or something. But, I mean, people from the military, especially this generation of the military, went through some fucked up shit, dude. And
I've seen some shit, man. I've seen some shit.
I wasn't in the military. I can't really talk, you know what I mean? And, I mean, kudos to them for doing what they do and shit. But, I mean,
Right.
a lot of them come back fucked up, man.
Oh, they do.
Or, I mean,
Well,
maybe
they're-
they were experimented on. Maybe this is some government mind control shit.
And it
Because
could
these
be.
people seem to be just doing this shit for no reason at all.
Right. Well,
This guy's, I mean, unless I hear a motive or some sort of reasoning, it's seemingly at random and for no reason at all.
right.
As if something just triggered in him, which, I mean, how many times have you read conspiracy theories and heard Jesse Ventura, why don't you tell me? Why don't you tell me, Jay?
Why don't you tell me?
Anyway, but
Well, I don't think that it's come out yet why he's done it or
this,
why
again,
he did it.
Today was the first time I heard anything about it.
Oh, you didn't even
I didn't
know
even
when
know
it happened?
it had happened. I don't watch the news, dude.
Oh.
I don't have cable and shit. I don't like. What I know, I read on certain websites and articles I frequent, but I don't do it that often. Not as much as I used to, anyway.
Right.
I'm a busy guy these days. I'm doing other shit. Like,
Right. Well, yeah, I don't think that it's come out yet why he did it, but I do know that it said that. Well, I think it's funny that they have him on video doing it. They caught him right after he did it, but it says if convicted, he will get the death penalty.
if convicted.
Right. Why the fuck wouldn't he be convicted?
Well, just the fact that they say maybe they're just doing that so they don't look dumb in the end or
Right.
something. But maybe why would they even say that in the first place?
Right.
To me, that's kind of a red flag right there. But it's the media. The media is fucking stupid.
The media is
it's ridiculous what they don't even report on like news half the time, like shit that matters.
Right.
Like I remember back when American Idol was on like 3 nights a week, that would be news. And it would be on after American Idol, and then they
Right.
would recap American Idol on the fucking news.
Yeah,
Like,
it's stupid. There's shit that they need to tell us that they don't tell us, and there's shit that they tell us that we don't need to know.
yeah.
That makes
And most of that shit is just to distract us from the shit we need to know.
right. Agreed. I absolutely agree with that. But I'm very, I guess, to go back to what you started to say about the Sandy Hook, I believe that it was. I do believe it was a distraction. I believe that it was, and the reason I didn't used to think that. I used to actually have a lot of sympathy for that sort of thing, for that in particular.
Mm-hmm.
But then, with all the conspiracy theorists and all that stuff saying, "Oh, it was an inside job. It was the government doing this, and it was blah blah blah," and I used to think, how could you? I mean, think about the people that died. How could you sit there and say that? But
And that's the first thing people say to you too when you even bring up anything like that, especially about 9/11.
right. But then I remember seeing other videos online where they're showing the interviews with, and well, the one in particular that I could think of, it was a man and a woman. I don't remember if they were husband and wife or whatever, but they were supposed to be parents of children from the school.
Of a daughter, right? Of a little girl, and the little girl was often like with them in the interview. She survived or whatever. But like the little girl was like, they were almost like pulling on her and getting her to stop from saying things and shit like that. And she almost like said shit that like,
Well, that's I don't think that's who I was getting ready to mention,
okay.
but
All right,
that's
never mind.
that's still another good example.
they were trying to call it child abuse because they were like coaching her and like kind of the dad was like choking her, kind of like grabbing her real tight and holding her real tight.
No,
and she was
that's-
starting to say stuff that he didn't want
No,
her to say.
that's a different couple. But what I was getting at was I've seen videos from it was a man and a woman, and in one of the videos they were a couple. In the other video it was separate people or separate like interviews for different people.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was from the Sandy Hook tragedy.
Yeah.
I hate to
Go
roll
ahead.
my eyes at that, but
Well,
it just
I wouldn't just because I'm not for sure. But
Right.
I mean, I have my thoughts and opinions on it.
But the one woman that was supposedly the mother of one of these children, and she was supposed to be all sad and this and that. Well, apparently, she's in this other video from, what was that other shooting that happened? It wasn't Sandy Hook.
With the news anchors?
No, it wasn't. There was another shooting. It wasn't the news anchors. It was another shooting at another school. But anyway, they interviewed
sad
the
that we can't remember
exact.
because there were so many.
I know they interviewed the exact same woman, and in this video they did a side-by-side comparison showing the woman from the Sandy Hook video and then the woman from this other shooing video.
Same
and it was
woman.
the exact same woman, and they analyzed everything, including her smile,
Well, that's the thing.
and it was
they call,
exactly the same.
They call those people crisis actors.
Exactly.
They get those people to go on the news and talk about things when they don't have somebody to go on the news and talk about these things. So they will basically get these actors to go on there and basically go out there and just bullshit.
Right.
Improv or kind of have like an outline of what they need to do and say and what not to say and shit. But that shit has been proven. Those people are real. When that news shooting with the blonde girl that was interviewing the lady and then the cameraman that was filming him or whatever, and then the one news guy or whatever, or the weather guy or something like that, black dude, came up and shot them
And
right
shot
there
him.
live on camera. Her dad and boyfriend were on like every fucking news channel that day, hours after it happened, talking to all these different people. The supposed secret boyfriend, mind you, nobody knew about. He was a secret boyfriend. Had this whole photo album of pictures of him and her and how much she meant to him. And her dad is an actor. The guy, he is a fucking actor. You can find him on the internet in plays and stuff. He is an actor, and they said the exact same fucking things on every show. The guy who was her secret boyfriend is like this dorky fucking ginger dude who almost seemed like he was bragging that he got this hot news. He wasn't really that devastated. The only guy that seemed kind of devastated was the dad, and that's because I felt like as if he was. I just don't. Why would you even be on the news right then?
Well,
Hours after it happened, talking the way you are, like it just so much of the shit just seems fake.
because it is.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right. It's not that it seems fake. It is fake. But why? What is their ultimate goal or their agenda for doing this?
That's the thing. It is to help further certain agendas. It's a way to mash things one way, get people thinking a certain way, the public consciousness to be going a certain direction. It's to strike fear. So they want to. Most people are saying gun control.
But they're.
Why do they want gun control?
No. I understand why they want gun control. What I'm getting at is now, like going back to Sandy Hook, for example, if that was just some big setup to try and push their agenda,
know any of this.
Right? And we don't know.
We're just having an interesting conversation about it.
We don't know if Sandy Hook was just all fake. It was just a big movie setup, whatever, with all these cameras and all these actors. I mean, for all we know, it could have been. But for all we know, maybe it was real. And these were just actors that they got to do these interviews, you know, for whatever reason.
So you had something to watch. Ratings.
Whatever.
You know what I mean?
Well, no. What I'm getting at is if Sandy Hook, if that really happened, and first of all, if they brought in all these actors to do all these interviews and talk about, you know, oh, my baby this and my baby that, and so was shot and so, and they had absolutely nothing to do with it, that, first of all, that's terrible.
Yeah.
But other tragedies, for example, 9/11, thousands of people lost their lives.
Yeah.
And I am convinced that was an inside job at this point.
More of me believes that it was.
I am thoroughly convinced that was an inside job.
Yeah. Like the only reason I say more of me and not all of me is because I just don't know.
And they killed thousands of people, important people that worked in the World Trade Centers.
And a lot of people miraculously weren't there.
Well, but my point is, there's still thousands of people that our government killed in a quote-unquote terrorist attack for what? Because they wanted to go to war.
Some people think that they didn't do it, but they just spun it. They capitalized on it. You know what I mean? They didn't do anything about it, though, to begin with. They had a bunch of warnings, but like they said, they always got warnings and never anything happened. But, I mean, who knows? Who knows? All I know is that I'm not convinced. And it's fishy. It's very, very fishy. A lot of this stuff is.
Well,
and I think the internet helps and hinders a lot of truth. Because the truth is out there, and the truth is in the details, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of bullshit, a lot of just speculation, a lot of stuff that's just in somebody's head and has no valid evidence. You know what I mean? Somebody they have nothing to disprove it, so they feel like that's the case. And it's hard to differentiate that sometimes. Some people present it to you so fucking well that you're convinced until something else convinces you otherwise. And sometimes I'm just like, that's a good point. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that I really thought that it was, you know, this way, an inside job or something, but that's a really good fucking point. But then there's other things that I'm just like, no, that didn't prove anything. See, it's so hard. The older I get, the more I think about it critically, the more I think about it, all this stuff. I think about it harder and more realistically, and the more I think the internet is,
The internet is a terrible,
The internet
terrible thing.
has its pros and its cons.
Yeah.
And I can't determine whether or not there's more cons or more pros.
I think there's definitely more pros than cons, but I think that
it's
the
capable
internet
and has been, in many occasions, an amazing thing. It is great in a lot of ways, but it is absolutely terrible in a lot of ways, too. It's ruining a lot of people. I think it needs to be not censored or regulated or anything, but I think it needs to be put into perspective for a lot of people. They take it too seriously. They live in it.
Yeah, I
It's
agree
an
with
alternate
you.
world for a lot of people.
No, I agree with you on that for sure. I think. Well, we had talked about this before.
And sometimes, and I not to cut you off, but and you get so lost in it sometimes you can't tell what's real or what's fake anymore. And I think that's what they want. That's what they're doing. That's why there's a new fucking story every day
Well, that's what they were
from
doing.
every fucking perspective. That's why the media has their own opinions and agenda. It's one huge fucking messy web.
Right. I mean, you can literally go on the web and find a story, and then find the exact same story that contradicts this story, and then another story that backs up this story, and then another story that backs up this story.
But all of these, every single one of them has truth here and truth here and truth here and truth here, but like it's hard to differentiate everything else.
Right. Well, and that's one thing that Mark
Because-
Zuckerberg was talking about with Facebook and the internet, and he's teaming up with whoever it is, I don't fucking know, but they're trying to basically clean up the internet. They're trying to eliminate all these fake news sources that are, because you can go on Facebook, and they're trying to eliminate all these fake news sources on Facebook, where Mark Zuckerberg says, if you're not telling the truth, we're going to delete your shit. Well,
But
they're trying
who-
to do that with the internet.
The
So
thing, that could be good or bad though. Like who's to say what's true and what's not? You know what I mean?
yeah.
If
No,
that
I
gets
see what
in
you're
the
saying.
hands of the wrong person, they could be feeding us exactly what they want us to know and hear, and they could be not feeding us what we need to know and hear.
Right.
That's the problem there. I don't know Mark Zuckerberg, but if that Social Network movie is any indication, he kind of a dickhead sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, but he's kind of a good dude from what you hear sometimes too. So
Right.
I mean, again, that was a movie
Right.
written by a very great scriptwriter, Aaron Sorkin.
Right.
But I mean, and directed by the guy who made fucking Fight Club at 7. I mean,
Well, I have a feeling, and I don't know why I have this feeling, but I have a feeling a lot of shit is going to be revealed in 2017. I've had this feeling for a little while, and I've noticed, this is what I started to say, we had kind of talked about it before. I think, well, what we talked about before was, like I said, I didn't like Donald Trump to be president. I didn't like Hillary Clinton to be president. But I think Trump's going to teach us some stuff. I really do. I think he's going to teach us a few things about what's really going on. I don't know why I feel that way, but I do. And
do you think he's going to do it on purpose, or you think it's going to be like something that happens inevitably because of...
no, I think he's going to do it on purpose. I for some reason, I feel like he's going to come out and say, this is what's going on with this. This is what's going on with this. And let me go back again, too. We talked a few episodes ago about all the stuff that's happening around the world right now that, with the help of the internet, we would have never known. Like all these UFO sightings and all the I just drew a blank. Just all the shit that's going on in the world that's coming to light now. Mandela effect, aliens, this and that and the other things that, you know, we always thought, well, okay, yeah, it's this huge universe. There's got to be other stuff out there. Well, there's more and more videos on the internet popping up showing shit that can't be explained.
Mm-hmm.
There's astronaut footage that's finally coming out where they're saying this is what we saw.
And there's whistleblowers and shit all the time, supposed whistleblowers.
And they're coming
Again, those are some things that are hard to differentiate truth from fiction. But
right.
I mean, you're right. More and more is coming out. More people are coming forward. More videos are coming out. But at the same time, more and more platforms and ways for that to happen are being created.
Right.
Like all kinds of stuff. I mean, fuck, dude, I could make a legitimate UFO video if I wanted to.
Do you have a UFO?
No, but I
then
could
it won't be a legitimate UFO video.
Okay, I could make one that okay. I could make a video that would be hard. That could probably make Tyler from Secure Team think this might be real.
Right.
You know what I mean? And there's nobody that could say that it isn't other than me.
Right.
Or somebody that was there that helped me do it.
Right. And I agree with you. I think that a lot of that stuff could be fake.
I mean, fuck, you buy Adobe Premiere or whatever that expensive ass editing program, they have After Effects. You could fucking do all kinds of shit with that stuff. Stuff that like you used to they only did in movies. Now you could do a lot of that stuff
at home on
your
computer.
Being a novice.
Right. I
mean, fuck, I've learned how to do all this stuff without any schooling, just reading.
Right.
And learning.
Well, and that comes back to the good with the internet.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't have the internet, how would you have learned to do that
I would have had to have fucking spent 60 to 80 grand going to a film school for 4 years.
Yep.
Been in debt for the rest of my life, just hoping
that
I got that job I wanted.
Yep.
That would pay that off.
Right.
That's how I would have had to have done it.
Yeah. I
wouldn't have been able to afford an HD camera that's as good as it is and shit. Like, I wouldn't have this laptop. And this laptop sucks, but I'm still happy I fucking have it. It gets what I need to do done. It may be frustrating, and it may not be as easy as it could or should be.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I tough it out. But, I mean, I forget what my point was here, but it's very easy to do these things nowadays.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. But what I was saying was I think, and I don't have anything to really back it up other than just my feeling.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of stuff is going to happen in 2017 where it's just going to open people's eyes.
That could very well be so.
to what's really going on.
I feel like that's been happening for like the last 5 or 10 years now. Slowly, every year, a little people's eyes get open a little bit more to all these new things. I mean, I think that's kind of how it's been forever. With new generations coming along, we're evolving. Our brains are expanding. Our consciousness is becoming greater. We are understanding things. We are more open-minded to things nowadays, especially. I mean, look at all these millennials and all this weird shit. All these kids today are like want to be vegan, or they have some certain gender pronoun for themselves and shit. Like there's kids that identify as male when they're female. You know
Right.
what I mean? And vice versa. Like generations get weirder and more, not necessarily weirder, but more accepting and more open-minded about things as time goes on. I mean, we're more open-minded than Mom and Roger. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
And Mom and Roger are probably way more open-minded than,
Than their
Grandma
parents
and
were.
Grandpa.
Yeah.
And so on.
Right.
Especially within the last, 100 years where everything just was booming. Ever since the Industrial Revolution and on, that's kind of how it's been. Just because so many advancements over time, things happening that people thought were science fiction or could never be possible were happening. And that only happens more as time goes on. So, again, I forget what my point was there, but I think it's just a natural process, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I do agree with you. And, well, I think it's because we're living in a simulated universe like the Matrix.
I mean, that's a possibility.
Actually, not to completely change the subject, but did you hear about that? There was all these quantum physicists are saying now that they believe we have shifted into this alternate reality that is actually, I know,
No, keep going.
Even I think this is absolutely ridiculous. But these quantum physicists are saying, not all of them, but there's a theory out there that we're living in basically a virtual reality world. We're all part of basically a video game.
Well, that's what they're saying because there's simulations now. I actually watched something. I think it was because I didn't watch the show when it was on, but I recently heard about it and it's on YouTube. I watched a few full episodes of it, but on Sci-Fi, Joe Rogan had a show called Joe Rogan Questions Everything, and he was talking to people about like artificial intelligence and how at one point it's going to be hard to determine the difference between the two, and they're going to be sentient and conscious, and they're going to be like living beings. You know what I mean? And he went to one guy and talked to him, and he said they already have higher intelligent beings in computer simulations. Beings that are they're higher beings than ourselves in a simulated world. You know what I mean? Like they've already achieved more than we have in a simulated world.
Crazy to think about.
Now, he didn't show Joe that I mean he might have, but they didn't show it on the show. He didn't prove that at all, but I want to see that. Do an episode about that, Joe. I wish that show was still on because it was like a better version of that conspiracy theory with Jesse Ventura's show, because Jesse kind of bought into a lot of them. Joe was the first one to call you on your bullshit.
Right.
He was the first one to go in there. I want to feel that. I want to touch that. What do you mean this experiment is ruined because of this factor right here? You're full of shit. Like Joe Rogan I love that guy.
He is the shit.
I mean, I don't agree with him on everything, but that guy is cool.
Funny. Oh my god, he's funny.
His fucking watch his stand up on Netflix is fucking great.
You
showed it to me.
It is hilarious.
But yeah, man. Basically, my point with that, and I know I wasn't trying to shoot you down on a lot of things you were saying, but I know I normally don't do that, and it probably threw you off a little bit that I was being so critical about some of this shit.
Asshole.
But I mean, my point with all that is that as time goes on, I'm not as convinced as I used to be about a lot of these things, and I think it's because I have more questions this time. I get smarter.
Right.
You know what I mean? So new questions arise that are not as easy to answer.
Well, no, and I see what you're saying because I used to be the same way, where what I was told is what I believed. Mm-hmm. And now, as I get older, I realize, no, you have to question what people are telling you.
Or else you're just a dummy.
Right.
Or else you're just believing everything. Like, I could tell you that fucking, dicks taste like vanilla. And you'd be like, cool, I want to suck some dicks. Until you do. And that just makes you a dummy.
That's true.
Unless you don't like vanilla, and you're like, no, I don't like vanilla. I'm always been a big fan of vanilla.
Well, suck some dick. But no, what I'm saying is, as I've gotten older, I've realized that not everything you're told, even by your government, don't fucking believe it. No. Question it. Research it. Figure out, find what they're telling you, or take what they're telling you with a grain of salt, because there's probably a little bit of truth in there, but the majority of it is probably bullshit.
Yeah, not to quote Stan Lee or whoever.
Just like, and I am going to go off on this here for a second, so just bear with me. But just like 9/11, I'm sure there's a little bit of truth in there that it did have something to do with terrorists.
There's some things you can't deny. The evidence is.
But our government's not going to come right out and say, yeah, they were terrorists and they crashed their planes in the World Trade Centers.
Especially if they were directly
involved. And that's
involved.
the reason. Well, they are going to tell you that's the reason that the towers fell. But that's not why the towers fell.
No.
That's not why the towers fell.
No, why they fell the way they did and stuff like that. Yeah. No.
Exactly. That was a controlled demolition. It's obvious as fuck.
I don't even want to talk to people about this shit anymore just because it gets so frustrating.
It does. It's incredibly frustrating, especially to know that that's our government.
Well, then there's those people out there that debate with you just for the sake of debating.
Now, I do believe the truth in that story is it was a terrorist attack, and it was Osama bin Laden behind the plane crashes. But it was Osama bin Laden teamed up with our government.
I mean, I don't know.
Is what I believe. That's what I believe. It was a terrorist attack between Osama bin Laden and our fucking government.
Well,
because our government wanted to go to war.
Some people claim that Osama bin Laden was on dialysis in 2001, or in like somewhere in the 90s, maybe the late 90s, mid 90s, and died not long after in America. Some people have said that. I don't know what proof they have of that or what, but so
I've seen videos, and again, a lot of people call them conspiracy theory videos or whatever, where they've shown Osama bin Laden his body, where they believe that he was already dead before our government says that they caught him and killed him in that bunker or whatever it was, with his 13 wives or however many it was,
or whatever, and
right.
Chris Kyle and all that shit,
right? Where
Bradley Cooper,
where he had passed away long before that whole story.
No, it was Chris Pratt.
Was even what?
he was one of the guys in that movie, Zero Dark 30 or whatever. Chris Pratt. It was about the guys that did that or whatever.
Oh.
And then Chris Kyle, Bradley Cooper played him in a movie. I think he was one of the guys too. I can't remember. No,
Chris Kyle I was talking and I heard you saying stuff,
That's
and then all of a sudden I was like, "What?"
But go ahead. I didn't. I was kind of just thinking out loud. Go ahead. With
I lost my train of thought, but don't. I guess the point I'm getting at is don't believe everything you hear.
Okay. Because
there may be a little bit of truth
with a lot of bit of lie.
For some reason in my brain, when I say that, I think of a tape measure where you've got 1 inch and you've got 4 quarter inches, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got a quarter inch, a quarter inch, a quarter inch, a quarter inch. Well, this quarter inch is bullshit. This quarter inch is bullshit. This quarter inch is truth. And then this quarter inch is more bullshit.
And they're using
that. So you have a little bit of truth surrounded by a whole bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is listen to what they're telling you, pick out what is the truth, and separate it from the bullshit. And to do that, you have to open your fucking mind and research this shit.
Well, you
look at the way those towers fell.
You have to look at the parallels too of the information. Like if everyone's saying the same thing in this part, this is probably true. If everybody's saying different things about this part, not all of what is being said is true about this. Like you got to be able, and what they do, they'll use the truth in this quarter inch. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. To help support the bullshit in the other 3 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's weird. You got to be able to notice that. You got to be able to, like I said, see the parallels. But again, at the same time, there's so much bullshit. It makes it so fucking hard to do and frustrating. Where it gets to the point, everybody's got something to say to you when you talk about this stuff. They always got a counteraction and stuff. To the point where I'm like, it's not even worth it. Like, I'm not going to change your mind. You're not going to change my mind. I think the way I think. You think the way you think. We both do it for a reason. And we both have our reasons why we think this way. I feel like I repeated myself a couple times there. But you get the gist of it, I'm sure.
Right. No, I understand.
No matter, it's a lost cause. Like, unless we were there or we both have the evidence and proof right in front of us to tell us the truth, we might as well just shut the fuck up, smoke the rest of this, and have a good time.
I disagree with that. That's the problem with this country, is people just shut the fuck up and believe what they're told and go about their business because they don't want to have a problem. They want to just live ignorant. They don't want to think about the fact that
that's the thing though.
That there's
I'm not saying live ignorant. I'm saying if we're just going to sit here and argue about this, there's no point in doing that. It's not
I agree with that.
Is us arguing about it going to do about it?
No, I agree with that, but at the same time, you can't just shut your mouth and let things happen
No.
because we can't do anything about it. Because we can do something about it, but everybody has to, this country
It
has
has
to come together to make this shit happen.
It has
Because
to be
you're
a
right.
collective
Because
effort.
you're right. You can't do anything about it by yourself. I can't do anything about it by myself. Emily can't do anything about it by herself. Walt can't do
Emily
anything
could.
about it because he's just laying there sleeping. And that's what he does all the damn time. But what I'm saying is,
That face
if
could do
this
a lot.
country would finally grow some fucking balls, and yeah, I'm calling out this fucking country, grow some fucking balls.
You're that country.
Because that's what we've been doing for centuries.
No, I understand.
Just sitting there, shutting our mouths, and letting this fucking government do what it
that's
wants to do.
What this country was born in was rebellion. We left. You know what I mean? We rebelled against the English and shit.
This country needs to stand up and tell the government, no, motherfuckers, you work for us.
Oh, I agree.
We get up every fucking morning and go to work and bust our fucking asses
Because you say we have to.
so that we could pay your fucking salary. You do what we tell you to do. But you are right. You can't do that. I can't do that.
We can, though.
But we can.
Yeah.
And everybody needs to stand together and make this shit happen.
Yeah, and I'm not. And I.
But
wasn't-
how do you do that, though? That's the biggest problem, is how do you do that? How do you bring all these people together to say enough is enough?
No. I understand, but I don't know how to do that. I wasn't trying to say that that's not what needs to happen, and that's not. I guess I'm just trying. I wasn't trying to say that's not so. What I was trying to say is, I'm not going to convince this person. This person's convinced. That's why he's arguing with me about it. It's no point in wasting my time. I might as well talk to somebody about it who is able to think about it.
But
Somebody that's able to have a fucking conversation about it and exchange bits of information so that we could fucking come to a better conclusion about it. Like, I'm not going to sit and argue with somebody who's just like there to argue with me because they enjoy the debate.
Right.
If they have legitimate reasons and like it's a good conversation, it's a good debate, and it's not just like waiting for your turn to contradict me sort of thing, that's good. That's healthy. That's what it needs to happen. That's how you make the change.
Right. But if you don't open your mouth, if you do just shut your mouth and do nothing, then you're not going to do anything for that person that you feel like you're not going to get through to. You have to still say something to that person and at least hope that something you say will stick in their brain.
At least make them think about it.
Enough to make them think about it.
I understand.
I think that's the biggest problem with this country, is all the people that would prefer to just not make a scene, just sit back and get through life and be cautious and don't stir anything up. And here again, I'm not saying go out like, not to piss anybody off, but like the Black Lives Matter or the KKK, for example, or, you know, these groups of people that go out and riot and protest and do all this shit. I'm not saying go out and create violence. I'm saying go out and create difference. Make change. Make your voice heard. Make your opinion heard. Make the change that this country needs happen.
Enlighten people.
Right.
With truth and not bullshit. Not propaganda.
Right.
You need to go out there and speak the truth.
Right.
Something people can relate to and understand, not your opinion. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just the way it is.
Exactly.
That's why comedies work so well. Some of the best fucking jokes you ever hear are shit you can relate to. Shit you're like, ain't that the fucking truth, man? Mm-hmm. Like, spins on terrible shit. You know what I mean? Shit that is usually gloomy, you hate about life. Comedy can make it lighthearted and sweet. You know what I mean? You gotta approach it like that, kind of. That's why a lot of comics are fucking... have opened a lot of people. Like George Carlin. And Bill Hicks.
That was a smart son of a bitch.
So was Bill Hicks, though. I think
Carlin.
Bill Hicks was a little too angry about it and a little too drunk about it. But I love Bill Hicks. But George Carlin was really, like, you probably, you know Bill Hicks? Comedian, he died of cancer.
I don't think so.
Before.
I know everyone knows George Carlin, though.
But yeah, George Carlin's a good example. A lot of people know him. He was more mainstream. But yeah, comedy's a great way to get a truthful and wholehearted political idea out there. George Carlin's a great example. Sam Kinison was pretty good at it too. He wasn't as political, but he was very fucking extreme with it, and I liked his approach. Sam Kinison, yeah, Sam Kinison.
He was a funny dude too, but
he was a preacher. That dude got hit by a fucking car when he was a kid and was never the same again. That's when he became Sam Kinison that we all know.
Right. Crazy.
Yeah. Shit. Oh. We only got so much storage on the cameras. We're at 40-some minutes right now, people. Sorry. It's all an unfortunate side effect.
Coincidence?
Of trying
9/11?
Oh, shit. But again,
Lord Jesus help me.
The short runtime of this episode is an unfortunate side effect of giving you guys regular content.
Yeah.
So, and the episode before this was a pretty hearty episode. I hope you were happy with.
In this episode, if I said anything that pissed you off,
let them know in the comments.
Let me know in the comments. I was gonna say I'm sorry, but I can't really honestly say that because it's just I got off on a rant about how I feel. So,
and I promise we won't talk about this stuff all the time. I realize we often go back to conspiracy theories, and we often go back to like UFOs and aliens and parallel. I mean, we probably talk about parallel universes in every fucking episode. At least mention it. You know what I mean? But yeah. I did want to talk about the Mandela effect. I'm glad we got that in there because that's something we definitely glossed over. Yeah. And that's a cool. And more shit comes out every. Like, people notice one more thing all the fucking time.
Yep.
And some of them are really fucking good. Some of them are just like, whatever, you're reaching for that one. But a lot of them. There's quite a few Star Wars ones, too, if I remember. There's at least 2.
Yeah.
But, the Bible ones are crazy. I didn't know that shit about Mom and Roger either. Roger's Bible changed.
When you were over there helping me at the house and we were showing Mom that stuff, and she's like, I got to show this to Roger.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't remember hearing
okay.
The second part of the story.
Yeah.
The conclusion.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk to Roger about it. That'd be something cool to do. Get Roger on the podcast. We couldn't smoke, though.
Right.
We would have to. That would probably be the most PG episode we'd ever do. That's just hard to wrap my head around.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that would work.
That'd be really hard. We couldn't do it live.
Yeah.
Wow. But just think of all the weird subscribers we'd get from that episode.
And then think about all the unsubscribers we would get for the next episode.
I know. Oh my God. We'd get like 50 subscribers and then we'd lose them all the following week. Oh. But I guess with that said, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hopefully at this point we've reached 100 subscribers on YouTube, but just in case, we could always use more.
Yep.
I see my light blinking on the camera telling me that we're about to run out of time. So with that said,
I am Mark. This is Jay. Poops.
I am Mark, and this is Jay. Poops. We're such dicks.
Yeah, I gotta piss.
You gotta piss, ladies and gentlemen.